Did you hear that? What was it?
A coyote.
There aren't any coyotes in England.
What happened to them?
Well, the police report said they were attacked by an escaped lunatic. Must have been a very powerful man.
Jack and I were not attacked by a man.
It's an animal. A wolf.
Did he say a wolf?
Yes, I believe he did.
Did you get a good look at the man who attacked you?
Doctor, my memory is fine. It's my sanity I'm beginning to worry about.
You've never had bad dreams before?
Well, sure, as a kid, but never so real, never so weird.
I'm going to look into your eyes.
My friend Jack was just here.
Your dead friend, Jack.
Hi, David. He told me that I will become a monster in 2 days.
The supernatural. The power of darkness. It's all true. Please believe me.
Believe what? That tomorrow night, beneath the full moon, I'll sprout hair and fangs and eat people?
You'd be surprised what horrors a man is capable of.
Are you all right now?
I don't know. I'll let you know the next full moon. I'm a werewolf.
You're gonna change. You'll kill people. You'll become...
I know. A monster.
David, don't lose control!
Control? What control?
David, I can help you.
No, I'm not safe to be with. You gotta stay away from me. Run!
Everybody dies in it.
Welcome everybody to They Cast from the Coast. My name is Adam Miles and I'm joined as always by Tim Johnson, Josh Lambert. How the hell are you guys?
Good.
We got a good topic of conversation for tonight, gentlemen.
Yeah, we fucking do.
I'm very...
Is it a topic, though, or is it just a review?
It is a review, but it's a good topic of conversation, this movie. I'm actually quite surprised we haven't done this.
I guess. I don't even know. I don't know who fucking recommended it.
No. Nobody important. Nobody important. Some ginger bastard.
No, the most important.
The only one.
The heart and soul of this show.
Aw. Thank you.
No, not you, Two-Tone.
Shut up.
Two-Tone.
Fine. Tim, what are we talking about tonight?
We are talking about the 1981 John Landis fucking classic, An American Werewolf in London.
Woo! Which I am deadly surprised that we have... I'm so shocked that we've never talked about this movie.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of one of those ones that just got... I don't know. Like, I thought about bringing it up before, because I watched... Joe Rogan had... oh, fuck, his fucking name just fucking escaped me. Special effects artist.
Rick Baker?
Yes, Rick Baker. He had him on the show, and a large part of the conversation was about this movie. And I was like, fuck, we should talk about that. And then, gone. So, yeah. But I watched this like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was like, hey, we should fucking do it on this.
This is one of those movies that I've seen, so it's not a fresh viewing.
Wait.
But I haven't seen it in probably like a decade or two.
Wait, you've seen this movie, Josh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not a fresh take, but I definitely hadn't seen it in a long time.
Nice. Okay. Well, that's crazy. This is one of those movies that I kind of revisit every couple of years minimum. Like, you got to keep up to date with this one. But excellent. So, Tim, in honor of how we normally do things, do you have a synopsis for us?
Me? I'm not prepared for this.
Wah, wah.
I can't believe you asked me.
That's
I can't believe
Tim.
you asked me this. Okay, so this movie got released on the glorious celebration day of August 21st, 1971.
And why is it a glorious celebration day, Tim?
Because that's my birthday,
Mm-hmm.
and I just turned 2. I was 79, 80, 81. Yeah, I was 2.
It was actually a gift just to you.
Yeah. Oh, Quentin Tarantino does it all the time.
Wow.
August 21st. Anyways, American Werewolf in London. An American Werewolf in London. 2 American college students are on a walking tour of Britain. And they're attacked by an animal. And it turns out it was a werewolf. You find that out in the later movie. Spoilers, if you didn't already know. One of the guys is killed and the other one is mauled. And he wakes up in a hospital. And the werewolf is killed that night and reverts back to its human form. And the local townspeople are unwilling to acknowledge its existence. I can't speak. Chicken burgers. That's what did it. I'm all tongue-tied. The local townspeople are unwilling to acknowledge its existence. The surviving student begins to have nightmares of hunting on 4 feet, running and prancing through the jungle. My favorite part, when he prances.
The jungle? The jungle of London.
Yeah, the jungle.
The Great Britain jungle.
No, he's having
hallucinations.
Oh, okay.
Jungle.
He does prance, and he prances very well.
Then all of a sudden, this fucking buddy who got mauled appears as undead, demanding that he commit suicide to release them from their curse. And he's being it's basically a story of him being trapped between worlds of, turning into a werewolf and kind of having
being a people.
And you got your buddy fucking showing up as a corpse telling you, hey, I can't go on and have a peaceful afterlife until you commit suicide. So American Werewolf in London.
Good job. All right, so in celebration of Tim's birthday, this movie was released. And it is the pinnacle.
It's sarcasm and it's not appreciated.
This is the pinnacle werewolf movie. And not only that, this is a pinnacle horror movie. Because this is really the first time that horror got its due when it comes to, great nominations. The Oscars, obviously. Rick
because
Baker.
of when it was released.
What was that?
Because when it was released.
No, because of the special effects, Tim. Special effects. Rick Baker.
August 21st. Tim Johnson.
Tim Johnson. Remember that, everybody, because we're on Patreon, by the way. So open up your hearts and your wallets.
For Tim Johnson.
For Tim Johnson. That's right. So this movie spawned a lot having to do not just with the werewolf movie, the werewolf movies in the future, but this movie proved that horror movies could really achieve that the nomination and the win as it were. But not just horror movies. This really kind of propelled effects artistry into the world's eye. I mean, we were already enthralled by people such as Tom Savini and Rick Baker and Stan Winston, but now the world starts to recognize the artistry and the master craft that these guys are putting out there every time. So,
but it wasn't just that. It was the element of the movie having comedy, which I believe, especially around that time, there wasn't too many horror movies that were funny. And I feel that the general going public responded to a horror movie because it had comedy in it. You know what I mean?
Almost one of the first of its genre, that comedy horror slapstick.
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2 style, like just enough comedy to keep them interested and just enough gore to keep it horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, had a bit of a thriller aspect to it too, because it wasn't all about the gore throughout the entire movie. There was some really, interesting scenes where the wolf is like, kind of hunting down people, and there was the unknown in the beginning with the hikers when they're actually out in the plains area, and it's all foggy, and they're trying to figure out where they are, and there's something chasing them around. It had some really, really good scenes in a mix of different genres all in the movie itself.
Well, that's part and parcel. It was, the director and the cinematographer and stuff coming up with ways of, hey, our werewolf doesn't necessarily look the best in certain scenes, or it can't necessarily do that. So we're going to do this creative walking through the fog and having the from the perspective of the hikers, or you get to the scene of the werewolf stalking a kill in the subway and coming up the steps. I think if it would have showed the werewolf, it wouldn't have been as effective.
But I mean, to its credit, the subway scene where it's looking down the escalators and you see the wolf walk into is one of my favorite fucking scenes in this entire movie, because it's stupid effective.
Yeah.
Right? And you don't,
and it's out of focus, and it was great.
Almost like Bigfoot. You're seeing this mythical creature.
Yeah.
You know what's going down.
Yeah, like shit's about to happen.
You know what's going down.
You know what's going down. So
this is the pinnacle werewolf movie. This is the first movie I think I was introduced to the werewolf theme.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I actually watched this movie before I watched classics like The Wolfman itself.
Yeah.
I don't think I watched that one till a little bit later. So this was probably the first werewolf movie that I can actually say I remember watching.
Definitely.
I watched this one. My friend Chad was obsessed with wolves. Just the animal that's his favorite animal. He was obsessed with them. And to an extension, obsessed with werewolves. And we did a marathon one night. Me and a bunch of our friends of mine, we spent I think it was fucking almost a day and a half at Chad's house. And we marathoned Wolfen, The Howling, and this. And that was my first. I mean, and this one was my favorite out of all of them. I fucking love this movie. But, Wolfen and The Howling were two really good horror movies. Werewolf horror movies.
Absolutely. So this movie here, so talking about the story a little bit more here, so it had a very simplistic premise. Like when you really dig
follow
into
Josh's rules.
Yeah.
Yep.
It wasn't entirely limited to location though. So it did have some pretty nice locations, a little bit grandeur in certain types, or certain times, but it was limited in how many different places for sure that it really kind of showed. So you had the old town and the back roads, and then you had the hospital, you had the flat, and you had Piccadilly, basically, is what you had.
Yep.
So there wasn't really too much else beyond that. It was still somewhat confined, which is great. But the movie really played on a simplistic fear. Very simplistic fear. You have two people, friends, in an unknown place, and it's dark. They get lost. There's a weird group of people that don't want them around and basically kick them out. Telling them, get the fuck out of here. And they leave because they're afraid, because they don't understand what's going on. And that brings upon the demise of one friend, and obviously the bite that brings the other one into the werewolf world. It's such a stupid, simple premise. Two friends hitchhiking or backpacking. One dies, one gets bitten. And then it turns into an entirely different movie all of a sudden. Because even though these friends had this huge dynamic, and there was some good comedy to it, and their discussions about everything from, the women back home to, what they're going to do with their lives, to all of a sudden one of the friends is dead, and now this other guy is, recovering in the hospital, and he starts to basically hit on and fall in love with the nurse. And it turns into a love story all of a sudden. But then there's the whole back end of what's gonna eventually happen that you know is it's leading up to, because it's the curse of the wolf at this point, right? Yeah, so the story plays on everything. It's got horror, it's got thriller items to it, it's got comedy, it's got love and romance and everything else to it. So,
Because that's what I look for.
Right? It's about werewolves. And the effects are fucking thebomb.com. If you go to thebomb.com right now, it's just a picture of that werewolf transformation. just a GIF of that werewolf transformation.
I'm checking thebomb.com. I'm checking. I think you're full of shit.
Josh is definitely.
Is it
shit.
da bomb or the bomb?
Da bomb, and it's actually a picture of Josh going like this. Can't believe you came to this fucking site.
I hope it is. www.da
fucking malware infested website Josh just sent him to. Fucking computer dies, his Skype goes offline. Fuck, we lost him. We're gonna need another Tim.
Nope. It's registered, but no one has it.
Oh, that was anticlimactic. Fuck.
Yeah, no, I'm very disappointed.
Nice. So the big thing, and obviously spoilers because, we're talking about the fucking movie as it is.
It's about werewolves.
It's about werewolves. But the big thing that this movie has going for it, in my opinion, when it comes to the story, is that it really plays to the fact that how could this possibly have a positive ending? You know what I mean? It really plays to the fact that you're looking at it saying, like, the whole time that I remember watching this movie for the first time, and I remember thinking to myself, how the fuck could this turn out positive in the end? What's the only way to kill not necessarily what's the only way to kill a werewolf, but what's the way to stop the werewolf? You got to kill the werewolf. There was no talks about serums and fucking changebacks and all kinds of weird shit that was introduced later on in different,
Another one of my rules for great horror. It has to end in catastrophe.
It has to end in catastrophe. So this followed one of Josh's great rules of horror. It ends in a very tragic, catastrophic situation. People are dead, and the main character, Lovelorn, dies.
Why are we not using names? His name was David Kessler.
Yes, it was David Kessler.
Come on, we're better than that. And he fell in love
with Nurse Price.
Nurse Alex Price.
That's right.
His friend's name was Jack. Come
All
on.
off the top of his head. Come on, guys.
We're better than this.
We're better than this. All right, so that could segue into characters. Let's talk about the characters for a minute, guys.
David Kessler.
David Kessler. All right, David.
The perfect
Kessler.
amount of smart aleck American.
Played by Mr. David Naughton. Absolutely. So, Tim.
You reckon he just couldn't get his lines straight, so they just called him David? He kept forgetting what his character's name was.
Oh, he gets so invested into the character.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right. Tim, let's talk about characters.
Okay, well, David, like you guys said, he's kind of a, typical American fucking 20-something. His look kind of reminded me of, like, a young Al Pacino vibe. Like, he had a young Al Pacino vibe.
Absolutely. I can see that.
I mean, I think he came across as like every guy. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't. He just had. Yeah, he just had this fucking very weird experience happen to him, and we're going through the motions with him. Dealing with coming to grips with being a werewolf. Yeah, I mean, there's not really too much to say about him. No,
but
he's a smart ass. He's,
Well, him and his friend Jack have a very good dynamic. So he's
kind of handsome. Okay,
handsome. Yeah,
kind of handsome.
So him and his friend Jack have a very good dynamic. I found that when they were on screen together, it was definitely buddy. It didn't feel really forced by any means. It came across more like, how it would be like if I was hanging out with a friend backpacking across Europe. These are the kind of conversations that I would have had probably, or, pick a situation, right? It would have at least been that type of a dynamic conversation which would have occurred. I mean, they sold it. It was really good in that way, to the point where you get shocked and feel bad right off the bat for the fact that his best friend Jack just got fucking mauled to death, right? But then later on he shows up and it's like, yay, Jack's back. No, he just looks like a fucking rotting pile of meat at this point. Great special effects, by the way.
Yep.
Right? And then beyond that, we have Nurse Price, the love interest.
She's kind of a goof who just takes a random fucking American boy home with her.
She fell in love.
That's weird, man. That's malpractice, brah.
Malpractice? You're calling malpractice on the nurse for taking a boy home after he's discharged?
You can't be doing that.
Well, she did say...
He's clearly mentally disturbed.
Is he? Is he, though?
He's talking about being a werewolf.
But we know he's a werewolf. He's not mentally disturbed.
I think she is a horrible nurse. Just taking home these stray American boys.
Stop talking about Nurse Price that way.
Well, she mentioned that she's only done this 7 other times or something like this in the movie.
Right?
She's like, I've had 7 other lovers, and I'm like, how many of these were like patients at the hospital?
Backpackers.
Just backpackers around Europe, and you're
She's a busy lady.
American.
She doesn't get out much. The only men she meets are patients.
That's right. Oh, you're American. Legs. Like, what the fuck? But yes, Nurse Price. She ends up becoming a fairly substantial character in the movie, because she starts off as the general love interest. He's kind of hitting on her, and he ends up staying with her. But she goes right to the very end of this, when she declares her absolute love for this fucking beast that's been murdering people all night now. Yeah. So.
That brings up a good scene. They set it up that it's going to be like the power of love saves him, and it doesn't. And that's the best. That they have it set up that it's going to be like a Disney ending, and it's not.
Yep. Pretty freaking much. The whole townsfolk. I got to talk about the whole townsfolk here for a minute, because I really enjoyed whenever the townsfolk were on camera at the very beginning of the movie, especially because they were just a kooky bunch. And Josh, you've been to the UK.
So accurate.
It is so fucking accurate.
All my notes, it's so fucking accurate.
It is so stupid accurate. I was saying the same thing. Like, I'm watching this going, man, I literally have been to a pub like this in the UK where you walk in and it's just like fucking everything stops and they're all fucking looking at you.
Like, there's literally like a record scratch that happens when a Westerner walks in.
and absolutely, no, there's no food here. Spirits and wine, or spirits and beer. Okay.
Which blows my fucking mind that exists. Because when we were in Liverpool trying to find something to eat, we went into every fucking bar, tavern, etc. that we could find. No one sold food.
Nope.
I was like, what do you mean? What do you guys eat when you're drinking? More booze.
No, you eat before you go drinking. That's the key, right? You go to a restaurant, you eat, and then you go to the pub. The pub is entirely just for drinking down there, so. Yeah, difficult. So, but the characters were all great, right down to the fucking dart player. I never miss.
I loved him. He's one of the most intense characters in this movie.
Oh, man.
He's in it for like 2 minutes.
I know.
But it was a hilarious 2 minutes. Tim.
Say my name with fucking disdain.
Tim.
Adam. Josh.
But it was good, and especially because it kind of brings up the whole darts thing later. Like, after the whole dart player, like later on, he's like in Nurse Price's flat, and he's turning on the TV, and there's fucking dart championships going on. And he goes, huh. It's like popular here, apparently.
This movie has a lot of that.
Yeah. Shit that
just
kinda,
like silly little nods.
Yeah, shit that appears earlier or gets mentioned in throwaway conversation and all of a sudden fucking becomes important later on and stuff like that. It's kind of funny that way. All right, so we probably want to discuss one of the most important parts of this movie, though, gentlemen.
Fucking that little guy that doesn't miss. I'm down.
All right,
that little guy that doesn't miss.
Oh, okay, fine. The dart player, Tim.
So that guy's hat. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, is it time for trivia time with Tim? No.
Let's talk effects, fella.
Let's talk
this
effects.
movie's got the fucking best.
That's the whole reason we were talking about this, is the
Right.
effects.
That is correct.
The amazing effects by Rick Baker. Amazing.
I'm pretty sure they have an actual werewolf in this film.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think
David
that
Naughton is really
latex
fucking...
and fucking chimp hair can make that.
David Naughton got naked and transformed in front of the camera, and Rick Baker
real
won a
time.
fucking Oscar for doing nothing but telling him to do it.
Yeah. And they captured him on film.
Yep.
then
And
they
it got
sold him to
released
Joey
on the
Cotton.
greatest day of the year.
Tim. All right, so let's dive into that effects work a little bit here, because this was
That guy's hat. I'm so done. I'm done. I'm sorry, guys.
This effects work was unprecedented at the time. They took
It's unprecedented in 2020.
yeah. It's true. It's true. There have been some really good effects work since and around the time, but nothing as complete as this. Because I can't discount, there are some other good transformations that have appeared in different movies, but nothing as absolutely pitch fucking perfect and complete as this movie is really what it comes down to. It wasn't just the effects, it was how they filmed it and the extensions of the scenes and the music that's playing and everything about it. It all came together to create the perfect transformation scene.
If I had to do a top 100 horror effects of all time, that would easily be in the top 10 for me.
Oh,
easily.
Yeah.
I'm even gonna go for it would be in my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like it
Top 5.
is the epitome of a physical effect being done.
But before we gush any more on the werewolf stuff, I feel that no one gives enough credit to the zombie makeup that's in this.
No, I was definitely going to be
good.
talking about that afterwards here because
Well, let's talk about it first.
Okay, let's talk about that first. So, the friend Jack, I'm just going to talk about Jack for a minute here because Jack appears undead at first and he's very fresh. He's got the blood, he's got like pieces of the fucking skin that are flapping around and shit like this. It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
The best part about what they did with this wasn't just that they had him as an undead specter. It's that as the movie progressed, he actually got fucking worse looking.
Yeah, it started fucking rotting and deteriorating, and like by the end of it in that porno theater, he's a fucking skeleton with moving eyes and random pieces of flesh. Like it was, so good.
So
it was so good.
2 questions in relation to him. One, which came first, this movie or Pet Cemetery? Because who ripped who off? Because this scene reminded me so much of the guy coming back and haunting him in Pet Cemetery.
This came out first, I believe, because I think Pet Cemetery was 82 or 83, maybe.
Someone ripped someone off because those 2 scenes are so identical, it's unreal.
The original, because I'm trying to think about when the book was written for Pet Cemetery, because the movie was 1989. And the original book was 1983. So it was definitely this movie.
Don't you dare don't say it.
No, nobody's saying anything. Nobody's saying it
Don't.
was never ripped off. All we're saying
Don't
is
say it.
American Werewolf in London was there first. Stephen King obviously provided an homage or his own take on the situation.
Yeah,
That's all that would be.
maybe.
Yeah, so as he progresses, the only question that I really had would be, if he progressed that much in that short of a period of time, what would he have ended up?
Happen? Yeah.
Like, would he have just been a skeleton? Period.
I think so.
Yeah, like just everything meat would have been rotted off of him, and it would have just been a skeleton with no eyes sitting there talking.
And you know how I'm a stickler for the rules of a monster when you introduce their monster. So I gotta ask the rules question. If the werewolf that killed him an unnatural death died, how come he's still around? Because I thought the whole thing was you just had to kill the werewolf that killed you.
So in this movie, they actually introduced it that it was the bloodline has to die. So because he was technically now part of the werewolf bloodline, he had to die. So that bloodline has to die is what they introduced in this movie.
And what I'm assuming is that because he was bit and then the guy died? Maybe that was the reason why he's the new kind of, I don't know.
The new,
I
the
think
carrier.
they found
Alpha?
Yeah.
Because then in the second one, they retcon it, and all you have to do is kill the one that killed you.
Yeah, but we're not talking about the second one right now because that's
just saying.
Yeah. We'll have a good conversation on that one, I think. But not right now.
Hi everybody, this is Vincent DeSanti, the writer and director of Friday the 13th fan film Never Hike Alone, and you are listening to the great commentary of They Cast from the Coast. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to check out Never Hike Alone, which is streaming for free on YouTube right now.
Okay, so you just have to kill the bloodline is essentially what it is. But that does beg the question, though, if he had basically said, hey, you need to commit suicide because the bloodline needs to die. If this fucking werewolf was running around the countryside the whole time and this town was like kind of keeping it a fucking secret to themselves, how many other werewolves could potentially have been out there, though?
I like to think the town are werewolf hunters, and they kept the population under control.
I just can't see it being that there would only be the
I don't
one.
have a problem with that, Josh.
I think that dart guy, he's just throwing silver-tipped darts, werewolves.
Or
Done.
that's where he gets his his accuracy and shit. He's fucking professional at that shit.
He's a marksman. He's a professional.
You made
werewolf
me
hunter.
miss.
Because even if you look at the sign of the tavern, it's a big wolf's head getting chopped off.
Yeah, it's true.
They're werewolf hunters.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we talked about Jack then, and but the thing is too is that it also introduces other characters that have been killed by him as the werewolf. So I love the scene in the porno theater where they're all basically just sitting there in like kind of
perverse.
Was that?
I said you would, perverse.
Of course I would, Tim. But they're all sitting there and they're basically being introduced and they're all like, I don't give a fuck. Tell him to go kill himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They absolutely have no love for the situation whatsoever, obviously, because they're all dead now. But I did like the couple, the married couple. She's like right sweet about it. You could just do it painlessly. Oh yes, dear, yes, painlessly. Like she's absolutely fucking bubbly and sweet about it. It's hilarious. But
the other guy's like, you could use a gun.
Gotta aim it right. Oh man. Okay, back to the werewolf transformation because that's really what we want to talk about here. So the thing is that even though this was absolutely ahead of its time for how they did this, Rick Baker openly admitted that the vast majority of the effects work that they did was nothing really new. They just took stuff that had been done by effects workers for years and implemented them in different ways. They had bladder effects. They had reverse hair pull systems. So, like, when it looks like he's growing hair, it's actually stranded
Reversing.
hair that's being pulled through in backwards.
Yeah, and then reversed.
The stretching pieces were kind of like bladder systems, but it was basically like almost like mini pistons that were created out of like injected water systems. So like his foot.
When his hand like fucking elongates, that gets me every time. Crazy.
Yep. Exactly. It puts it right up there and it just fucking extends and shit like that. It's great. Right down to the nails, which were just push throughs, from the fake hand, right? So, but once again, and we stated this flat out, it isn't that, it's everything combined that makes this an absolute.
It's not that it
perfect
was some sort of revolutionary technology.
No.
It was just using the best of the best with the best effects artists out there, just making it happen.
In an absolute perfect fucking way. Everything just went absolutely brilliant for them. So. All right. Let's see. I just love this. I just love this movie so much.
It's hard. It's hard to talk about a really good movie like this.
It is because
I
all
got
you want
nothing to shit on it for.
No.
It's fucking funny. It's got great effects. It's a simple story. It follows all Josh's rules to great horror.
all you want to do is fucking love it and praise it. That's all you want
Yeah.
to do. So the next thing,
And I spent last April in London, and I got to see all these filming locations. I got to go to Piccadilly Circus.
I went to the porno
and
theater.
stand right where it was. Yeah, I think the porno club's closed. But I got to stand right where the werewolf fucking goes across that big screen. It was sweet.
Nice. All right, so I'm going to leave it open. Who wants to do theirs first? Tim, do you got trivia time first, or Josh, do you have notes?
I can do trivia time right
Tim,
now.
trivia time with Tim.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh!
Go ahead, Tim. Trivia time.
All right. Well, we already covered this, but this was the first film to earn an Academy Award for Best Makeup. And this category was created that year as well, so 1981. John Landis has reported that when approving the high-definition transfer of the film for DVD in the mid-2000s, he was actually taken aback by how gory this fucking movie was.
That says something right there. He's like, oh, wait a minute. Did I fucking make this?
Rick Baker claimed to have been very disappointed by the amount of time spent shooting the face-changing shot for the transformation after spending months working on the mechanism. John Landis only required one take lasting about 7 seconds. Baker felt that he wasted his time until seeing the film with an audience that applauded during that 1 second or 1 7-second shot. So, I mean, I absolutely get it. He probably spent the better part of a fucking year doing this and making sure it's fucking perfect, only to have it shot for 7 seconds. But I mean, that's just a testament to how good that effect was. We don't need to spend any more time with it, right? David Naughton revealed that the hospital bed in the forest scene was the most difficult and painful because of the glass contact lenses he had to use. Oh, can you imagine wearing contact lenses that are made of glass? Oh, fuck, that would suck.
That would suck.
That would suck.
That's what they all did for like the Evil Dead and all those early movies. Just shitty contacts that fucking hurt their eyeballs.
This is a very interesting piece of trivia. Unlike most motion pictures, let me say that again correctly. Unlike most motion pictures, this movie was one of the rare movies to actually be filmed in sequence. So they shot it at the beginning, and shot the end at the end. That's amazing. That's probably due to the fact that they had a lot of the special effects done before they even shot, or they had to get certain effects done for when they shot.
Probably because they can't just run into Piccadilly Circus whenever they want. They probably had the majority of the film filmed, and then when they finally got the ability to go over there, that's when they went.
Yeah. So this is... John Landis avoided filming any full frontal nudity of David Naughton during the transformation scene and dream sequences after Naughton informed Landis that he was not circumcised, even though the role of David Kessler was written as being Jewish.
It's great.
Out of all the movies John Landis has ever made, this is his favorite.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so. While John Landis was trying to get this film made, Rick Baker became tired of waiting over 8 years and decided to use what he's been planning for the film on The Howling, that also came out in 1981. Eventually, Landis called Baker back and told him, "Hey, I have the money. Let's make American Werewolf." To which Baker replied that he was already doing a werewolf picture. Landis started yelling at Baker over the phone. Baker decided to leave The Howling in the hands of his protege, Rob Bottin, and then would only consult on that film, leaving him free to do this one. Reportedly, Baker's initial decision is something John Landis has never forgiven him for. Baker's ultimate decision to leave the project, both because of said call, and because the Howling designs were becoming too similar to what he had reserved for American Werewolf. So that makes sense, because I always found that the Howling Wolf kind of looked like
Oh, they look almost identical.
the same.
Hmm.
At the close of the credits, there's a congratulatory. I can't speak.
Congratulatory
Message for the wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Diana. It was included because when David is trying to get arrested, he shouts, "Prince Charles is a..." And I'm not going to say it because it's insensitive. The film was shot several months before preparations of the couple's July 1981 wedding. Yeah, I couldn't. It was funny. I was like, "What?"
It's a different time, but it was a different time.
Twas.
The fake porno movie "See You Next Wednesday" was the first thing to be filmed during production.
It was hilarious. Excuse me, wrong number. It's like shit. Fucking.
It was like Monty Python.
Yeah.
So, the episode of The Muppet Show that's playing on television during David's nightmare sequence is The Muppet Show Senor Wentz in 1980, but the portion shown was never shown in the U.S. This is why Americans often assume it to be a fake episode, and why Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog are credited at the end in the credits.
That's hilarious.
David Naughton was reportedly cast because John Landis seen him in a television commercial for Dr. Pepper.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's what David Naughton was known for. He was the Dr. Pepper guy.
Ah, yes.
Rick Baker plays one of the Nazi werewolves in the nightmare sequence, and specifically, he's the one that slashes David's throat.
Nice.
Michael Jackson was so bowled over by this movie, specifically the makeup and visual effects, that he insisted on hiring the responsible people for his planned music video, Michael Jackson, Thriller, that came out in 1983. When Landis agreed to direct his first music video, by the way, he brought on board the foremost werewolf crew, including Robert Paintner, Elmer Bernstein, Rick Baker, and Deborah Noodleman. Pretty much, yeah, Noodleman. Yeah, that's how. Yep. Yeah, Noodleman. Which I always thought was cool, because I always found that the werecat that Michael Jackson turns to at the beginning always reminded me of an American Werewolf in London werewolf. What else? I'm trying to think. Is there anything else? Frank Oz, best known for Yoda and Miss Piggy, appears as technically two characters in this movie. One, Mr. Collins, the man who talks to David in the hospital, and the voice of Miss Piggy on the Muppet Show clip.
Yep.
Look at that.
He was a whiny bastard as the character, the embassy character, man. That was hilarious.
I said his name.
Yes.
And you're still just calling him as a generic character. Where is the professionalism, Adam?
Fine.
Oh, yeah, look it up.
Hi, Mr. Collins.
Popped up. Let me do it. Mr. Collins.
Yes, fine. Mr. Collins was a whiny-ass character. It was hilarious. All right.
As of 2014, this is the only John Landis movie to win an Academy Award. And let's do one more. What one can I pick? The Moors scene was actually filmed around the Black Mountains in Wales. And that was a little tiny one. See, it's all just sounding like what we said.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, this is the last one. John Landis first came up with the story when he was a teenager, which he attributed to the romantic subplot involving an attractive nurse. There we go.
Fair.
Fair enough. Nice.
Trivia time, Tim.
Trivia time with
Trivia time
Tim.
with Tim.
And now, Josh, you have some notes, I assume.
I did some notes. And again, this wasn't my first viewing of the film, but I haven't seen it in a very long time. So let's get into the mood here. So these notes were taken March 25th, 2020 at 8:47 p.m. An American Werewolf in London. Strong start, opening with a sheep shitting on the guy's backpack. Poop jokes. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Accurate display of people from Britain. Don't speak, don't make eye contact, ever. Very accurate. Oh please, don't rain. Really? Did you do any research before hopping in this shit wagon to Britain? All it does is rain there. The dart player looks very familiar. This is gonna bug me. I had to stop the movie and look him up on IMDb where I recognize him from. He's in all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Nice.
I thought he'd be in a lot more than that, but he has a very good face. He should be in more films. I wrote, Jesus, he's quick to ditch his buddy. There's no fucking around in this film. It's about werewolves, and that's what you're gonna see. There's no fake outs, it's just fucking werewolves. First appearance of the wolf, very quick, but clearly a static prop. Jack's dead man. I appreciate how upsetting this is, but there's no reason for hysterics. Someone told this to the man. As if there's ever a time for hysterics, watch this buddy get ripped apart by werewolves is probably the time to be in hysterics. And you got my first what the fuck? And then that was in relation to a naked prance through the forest. Well, he's catching feelings for the nurse. I'm betting there are some folks who have repressed memories of that jump scare. Blue-faced ghoul in the bed. Do you remember that scene? It seems like one of those large marriage scenes where it's just going to be repressed memory in a bunch of kids' brains. He just flat out checked out her tits. He wasn't even remotely subtle.
Nope.
Did you notice this? Not even remotely subtle.
Not even.
Muppets! Exclamation point. And then the film receives my second what the fuck. Nazi machine gun werewolves. For fuck's sakes, it just keeps coming. I don't remember any of this silliness. Amazing effects on Jack. This scene is very Pet Cemetery. Or I suppose Pet Cemetery is very much this. Wolf's bloodline must be severed. Hashtag gotta know the rules. Bro, this poor girl is just trying to work. Now you're kissing her and hitting on her, and you're a fucking werewolf. They are doing a great job accurately representing Londoners. Crowded tubes, expensive food, and tiny flats.
Yep.
She clearly told you to watch the telly while she showered. You could be watching Google Box, man. Do you know what Google Box is?
No.
So this is like one of the most popular programs on like London TV, and it's literally just a bunch of Londoners being filmed from the POV of their TV, watching TV and getting their reaction.
Wow.
He could be watching that. And instead he jumped in the shower. Why is Jack so green? That was the second introduction of Jack all torn up. Did you notice that? He got like crazy green.
Yep.
She's a pretty shitty nurse. He's clearly suffering from some sort of brain injury. Bella Lugosi name drop. Point. And here it is, the single greatest werewolf transformation ever recorded on film. It's these effects that make this movie so good. There's hooligans in the park again. That was a quote. Hey, it's the Tower Bridge in the background. There's a poster for a non-stop orgy.
in the subway, the tunnels.
Yeah. Hey, it's London Zoo. The fact that he's buck naked in the heart of London is funny. Naked man asking for a little boy to come here with balloons. Probably wouldn't fly nowadays.
Nope.
This screaming profanities in City Square is comical. Queen Elizabeth is a man. Quote. These phone booths are pretty much just used for homeless people to wank off in nowadays.
It's so true.
Did Monty Python direct this porno? I wrote, the Jack effects just keep getting better every time he's on screen. Carnivore's lunar activity. Quote. Jesus, that's an 18-car pileup. Great setup to the power of love plot just to be blown away. Much better. Love the ending. And my final notes here are honestly love this film. By far the best werewolf film ever made. Haven't seen it in over a decade. I forgot how wonderfully cheesy and weird it is. But even if that's not your jam, it still has the best werewolf effects. Period. And that's my thought on American Werewolf in London. In real time, you got it right there.
Nice.
I felt like I watched it with you.
Right?
All right, gentlemen. It's time to give our final thoughts and impressions on this movie and rate it. Tim.
I gushed the whole time. This is a fucking what's our top rating?
X.
X.
Yeah.
That's our
It's
top
only ever
rating.
been given out once.
It's
by Adam.
only ever been given out once.
Oh,
by me.
because he made it up on the spot.
That's right.
What's
I
the
did.
one after that? R.
After R.
R for recommended. Yes.
So I'm gonna go with R
Exact.
because that's the actual approved one, not made up by Adam for that one random episode.
Oh wow.
No, I'm legit gonna give this an X.
X for excellent.
Yeah, this movie is it's amazing. It's amazing.
Give it to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything from the original like groundbreaking special effects, which is the reason why most people watch this movie, but like the movie the storyline's pretty simple, lighthearted. You know, the fact that you already are feeling like a fish out of water because you're with, you know, unless you live in fucking the UK. But, you know, for me, I don't. So I empathize with David a little bit more because he's an American werewolf in London, right? So, but then on top of that, that's amplified with the fact that he's turning into a werewolf. And yeah, this movie was great. It was great. It was excellent. X. Rated X.
Awesome. Josh.
I love this film. It's wonderfully cheesy. It has some amazing effects. It has a lot of what the fuck is going on in this film right now. I cannot recommend this film enough to horror fans, to werewolf
Oh my god,
fans.
what are you going to rate it?
I gotta rate it an R.
Oh,
Highly
why
recommend.
wouldn't you give it
I
an
ain't getting silly with
we
the
could have
X's.
a
I got
triple X
No.
rated fucking
I
movie.
cannot rate this triple X because, and I'm gonna catch a lot of flack for this, I actually like the sequel more, believe it or not.
Fuck off.
Holy fuck.
It's unreal. I love this fucking film, but for some reason, I think it's better in Paris.
I'm embarrassed to be on the show with you now.
I kind of am too.
I rate this movie an R. Go watch it. If you haven't seen it in a decade, go watch it again. Adam,
speechless.
Okay.
I'm speechless. I think we should just fucking end the I don't want to do this show anymore.
So first off, I'm going to rate Josh's rating. Rated S for shit.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You had the perfect opportunity, given all the fucking porno shit we've been talking about.
Give this
tonight,
a triple X
to
rating.
Give it a first triple X rated
my.
fucking movie.
Oh, and Josh goes and fucks it up. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So nothing that I could say would be anything that we haven't already said. This movie is absolute fucking. It's royalty of the horror movie universe. It's fucking perfect in what it does. It's got the perfect mix of acting in different genres. Thriller, horror, comedy, romance, everything else into it. It's kind of like the Princess Bride of fucking horror movies in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? It mixes and matches so much in here and just keeps you interested. It's a beautiful movie in a lot of ways. The movie holds up, period. It's something that was filmed, early 80s, and it's still fucking great in no matter what way that you look at it. It is not a movie that is a product of its time. It transcends all of that. So no matter what,
it is a product of its time, but it was so well done that it's ageless.
But that's what I mean. So a lot of movies get stuck as a product of their time to the point where people kind of go, I don't relate to this movie and I don't really appreciate it for what it is. This movie transcends that. It might be literally a snapshot of life at that time period, but the movie's, like Tim just said, timeless. It is what it is. This movie, without a doubt, is something that regularly I watch. I recommend to everybody and anybody. And I mean, who doesn't know what this movie is? This movie kicked off a lot.
I'm actually surprised Josh did.
I was gonna say, even Josh has seen it.
Even Josh has seen this fucking movie. So with that, I give this movie an X for excellent.
Thank you, Adam.
I'm sorry I couldn't give you your triple X that you wanted.
You know what?
It was so close.
You know what, Josh? We're gonna make sure not to give one of your favorite fucking movies an X.
Don't hurt my feelings.
Nice.
I do love this film. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
Go watch it.
I mean, an R is fucking phenomenal.
That's top tier for Josh.
Tough.
I don't just go handing R's out willy nilly.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see.
We got a little fucking run of Josh themed movies in June, so
yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Josh is gonna be like X all around. So
yeah, and out of a point, I'm gonna be like, this movie sucked balls.
I'm gonna be like, yeah, it's a PG. It was pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the movie,
but
PG. All right, gentlemen. Good discussion tonight. We covered a great topic, and we're gonna have to do the sequel, probably even maybe for the next show.
Gonna have to now that you all know that it's.
We are doing it for the. We're probably gonna record it after this. Like
maybe.
No, because it was up on me, and yes, let's talk about the second one because Josh fucking loved it.
There you go. Maybe we'll do that. Excellent. All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in and listening to us tonight and watching us. So depending on how you've actually been enjoying this episode, check us out on all the podcast platforms that we produce the show on: Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and find us on Facebook. Like and share all of our episodes. We go live every Monday night as well, by the way. And don't forget, we're also on Patreon. I said this earlier, and I'll say it again. Open up your hearts and your wallets. Help us with content creation and everything else. So, until next time, Tim.
Stay spooky, stay safe.
Josh.
Queen Elizabeth is a man.
That was terrible. That was fucking terrible. What a terrible way to fucking end that episode. All right, thank you, everybody. And until next time, cheers.
Good night. I don't know what that was.
Good night.
Good night.